Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Michaela, and we're going to do some yoga exercises to strengthen the legs, hopefully build some strength through the upper body, a little bit in the back, to help us kind of keep our posture up and tall while we are spending a lot more time sitting at home reading books, hopefully, right? Best case scenario, reading books, or just in general being on our phones and our tablets and our laptops. So we're going to hopefully help reduce a little bit of that hunched over posture. And then also strengthen legs. So we're going to work a lot on chair today. This one is going to be a little more intense. We're going to build some heat. We're going to sweat a little bit, and then we'll bring it back down and we'll take some time on the mat to hopefully relax. So today, if you do not have an intention already, if you come to practice with something that you'd like to really focus on for yourself, or maybe even for as like a collective goal, you can go ahead and do that. If you don't have anything specific that you'd like to work on today, we'll be working on planting ourselves, grounding ourselves, and opening up our flower petals, opening up our hearts. So let's go ahead and get started in our standing position. Feet are right underneath those hips. Spine is in a comfortable neutral position. So go ahead and check with those hips. Make sure we're not overarching the back or rounding the spine. Take a few moments to just wiggle out the joints, wiggle the hips, wiggle the shoulders, so we're in a comfortable position where we can stay for a few breaths. We're gonna go ahead and maybe close the eyes, lift the jaw just a little bit, let the chin, so the jaw is maybe parallel with the floor. If this is uncomfortable, find wherever feels best for you. Hands down beside the side seams of those pants, rolling those shoulders back. We're just going to breathe a few times in through the nose and out through the nose, welcoming in each new breath and releasing each breath full of stress, full of tension. Every exhale, releasing, helping us to move on to the next thing, approach the next challenge. Let's roll the shoulders in some nice big circles, inhaling and exhaling, just drawing big motions with the shoulders. Starting to warm everything up and connect everything with the breath. Awesome. Let those wrists kind of stay nice and soft, nice and neutral. And let's reverse those circles, opposite direction. And we'll start to add the arms a little bit more. Inhale those arms up and overhead. Touch the fingers together and exhale, circle the arms back down. Inhaling again. Arms up and overhead. Exhaling, bringing them back down. Inhaling, this time hands together. Bringing those hands down to our heart center with the exhale. Inhaling up. As we do this, just pay attention to those knees. Watch what happens in the feet, whether we're rocking forward or back or side to side. Notice what happens in the knees, so just keep them nice and soft, gently bent. Exhale, inhaling, and exhaling with the next breath. See if we can't lift our chest, lift our chin a little bit higher. Exhaling down, starting to build some heat with the breath. So really contract the muscles in the throat with that exhale. So it sounds like we're really upset, but we're actually releasing those upset feelings, those upset particles. Inhaling up, exhaling to heart center. Last breath like this, I promise. Hands to heart center. And let's go ahead and step those feet out a little bit wider than shoulders. Turn the toes out. Inhaling up and exhaling. Hands come down to our hips. Inhaling up into a 5-pointed star. Exhaling, bending the knees. Bringing those arms in towards the center. Inhaling and exhaling for sunflower. Exhaling down. Inhaling and reaching out. Exhaling, inhaling, strong breaths, really warming up the muscles, getting the joints lubricated so we don't dive into any deep bends before the hips and the knees are ready for it. One more time, reaching up and overhead. Go ahead and scoot those feet back to the center. Hands come down to the top of the legs. Bend those knees. Exhale, nod the chin to the chest, and begin tucking the tailbone rounding the spine, almost as if we have something pressing our spine into a C shape. Inhaling, filling the lungs again, and maybe arching the back if that's comfortable. So just start lifting the gaze. Don't worry about the tailbone until your spine is comfortable doing that. Exhale, feeling a sense of release on one side of the body, and then feeling that really strong, strengthening contraction on the opposite side of the body. Exhale, round. Inhale, stretching the heart, draw those shoulders back as far as we can. Exhaling. So it feels really good for me when I contract the back side of my body, because I do tend to hunch over when I'm looking at my phone or when I'm painting. And so this one is great. Really, regardless of what you do with your spine, this one is great to kind of bring your spine back into its natural rhythm, natural neutral position. Let's go ahead and bring that spine back into neutral. We're going to bring ourselves back up into our standing position. I'm going to turn and face the front again. Those feet, toes turn out to the sides. Feet are maybe right under the shoulders, maybe a little bit wider. You may have to wiggle those feet around here, but we're going to do a little squatting flow. Arms come up and overhead. Exhale, hands draw down the center of the body, and we sink those hips just as low as we're comfortable going. Spreading the arms, reaching to the sky. We lower down into our squat, just as far as we can go. Lifting those hips first, and then starting to lift the spine as we come back up. So we'll really start to feel those hamstrings start to lengthen and open. Exhaling, inhaling. And again, feel free to wiggle those feet into a more comfortable position. We want to try to keep the heels as low as we can. Try not to take those hips any lower than the body is comfortable going. So if the knees say no, if the hips say no, just be soft, be respectful of your body. And we just go to here instead of maybe all the way down. Maybe we just lower a couple of inches and then come back up. It is okay to modify. It is best if we modify if our body needs us to. And exhaling. Last one, reaching for the sky, moving down into our squat position. And it's coming back up. Let's go ahead and heel and toe those feet back underneath those hips. Exhale, we're going to sink the hips back and down. Arms reaching forward to help us balance. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Go ahead and just circle those arms. We're doing a chair flow. So we'll be adding in our sun salutations with a lot of chairs today. So we really want to prepare the body, lining up the spine, making sure the weight is placed right on those heels, making sure we sink those hips as low as we can without hyperextending the knees. And exhale. We're going to do one more. Inhale, reach for the sky. Exhaling, sitting into our chair. Let's reach up to the sky. And we've all been waiting for it. Exhale, begin walking those hands down towards those feet. Bend those knees as much as you need to here for that forward bend. Hands come to the floor, maybe like 6 inches forward from the toes. Walk those feet back into a plank, and then go ahead and take those knees right down to the floor. We're going to flow child to table. So we're going to exhale, back into our child pose. Arms reach forward just as far as we can keep the palms and the fingers on the floor. And inhale, moving onto table, and exhale, sitting back into child pose. Inhale into table, exhale, back into child. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. Stretching those glutes, stretching the lower back. And just kind of integrating the shoulders into the movements here before we add in plank. And last one, sitting back, moving on to all fours. And we're gonna go ahead and add bird dog, reaching right leg back, taking it down, reaching left leg back. And go ahead and take it back down. Adding in the arm, right leg, left arm, taking it back down, left leg, right arm, and back down. Now, if those of you saw my Monday workout, we did a lot of legs. My glutes are still really sore, so hopefully we didn't do anything crazy with those glutes yesterday, because this is going to be kind of demanding for the quads and the glutes. And coming back down, and reaching forward. And hey, if we did, we're just adding that extra challenge, breaking down some lactic acid. So it's fine, even if we did, we'll be fine. And we'll take it back down one more time, left leg, right arm. And take both hands to the floor. We're gonna bring the right fingertips right behind the right ear, elbow pointing to the floor. Now be very careful with your left shoulder here. Make sure you don't like sink into it or lose track of what's happening there. We're going to open the right shoulder and the right elbow out to the side, just as high as we can go, and come back down. So we're really working the back muscles here. Opening, and inhale, come back down. Exhale, open, and inhale, come back down. Or if you'd like, inhale to open, and exhale back down, whichever suits the movement best for your body. Sometimes breathing differently really influences how the pose happens. And let's go ahead and do one more time. Opening, coming back down, right hand to the floor, left hand to the, left fingertips behind the ears. And we're going to open to the left side, open, and back down. Either inhaling or exhaling to open. Just pay attention to what's happening in the opposite shoulder. We're just really warming up the back muscles here, starting to really engage and activate. One more time, opening just as wide as we can go. Even if that's just a couple of inches, come back down, hands underneath those shoulders, curl those toes just for a second. Uncurl those toes, sitting back into a child pose. We're going to inhale here and exhale, release. Now this is the only break we're going to have for a little bit because we're going to be moving through our sun salutations with chairs. So just really cherish this. Take a big breath in, big exhale. And let's go ahead, moving on to all fours. Breathing in, curling toes. Exhale, lifting hips, lifting knees. Breathing in and exhale, pressing hips to the sky. Nice long arms, downward facing dog, reaching heels to the floor, bending knees in order to bring the spine into a nice long line. Let's go ahead and take the knees all the way to the floor, sitting into child pose. Inhaling onto all fours, curling toes, plank pose, exhale, hips to the sky, and knees to the floor, lifting the heels, sinking into child pose. Inhale onto all fours, exhale, curl toes, lift for plank pose. Inhale, exhale for downward facing dog, knees to the floor, and hips sinking down. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, plank. Inhale and exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale and exhale, tabletop and chair. One last time, onto all fours, curling toes. This time go straight into your downward facing dog, hips to the sky. And let's go ahead and begin stepping those feet to the top of the mat. Little steps here. Halfway lift, preparing the spine to come up into a standing position. Inhale, the back is nice and flat. Exhale, forward bend. And walking the hands all the way up to standing, using hamstrings and glutes to help get all the way up. Arms overhead. And exhale, go ahead and dive over those legs again. Bending those knees and stepping back, little steps or big steps. Let's go ahead and add a push-up. So we're going to inhale down and exhale or exhale down, inhale up. Curl those toes, downward facing dog. We're gonna do two more. We're gonna make those steps just a little bit bigger. Inhaling here, exhaling, big steps. One foot forward, second foot forward, halfway lift, forward bend. Coming up to standing, walk the hands, or this time we can sweep those arms out to the side and hands to heart center. Inhale, gazing up, exhale, diving forward. Step those feet back, big steps this time. One foot, second foot, adding push up. Exhaling down, inhaling upward facing dog, curling toes, and moving into downward facing dog. One more time like this. If we're ready to add a little bit more, we can always add our hop, reaching the heels to the sky, bending those knees, gazing forward, and jumping the feet towards the hands. Halfway lift, forward bend. Coming up to standing, and hands to heart center. We're not gonna add those chairs quite yet. We'll do plenty of those. Inhale to the sky, gazing upward with the eyes, forward bend, and maybe jumping those feet back, maybe taking those lunges, lifting the heels, and hopping back into our plank. Add that push-up. Exhale, inhale, and downward facing dog. All right, let's start to add those chairs. Hop those feet to the top of the mat. Or step, always that option. Halfway lift. Forward bend, coming up to standing. And this time, as we exhale, arms can stay lifted or reach forward, but we sink into our chair pose. Back is nice and long. Inhale, reach for the sky. And exhale, forward bend. Step those feet back or jump them back. And adding our push-up. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Jump or step to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Coming up to standing. And sinking into that chair again. Arms wherever they're comfortable. They can stay lifted beside those ears. They can reach forward to help counterbalance. They can come to heart center. Inhale, reach for the sky. On that downward swing, try to reach for the floor. Try to brush those fingers against the mat so that we can do that. Hopping the feet back, add that push up. Exhale, inhale, and downward facing dog. Jump or step to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Forward bend. Come up to standing. Sinking into our chair. And as we reach up again, try to brush the fingers against the mat. If we can't do this, that's okay. That's just an added challenge. Jump or step those feet back into plank. Adding push-up. Inhale, upward facing dog. Curl the toes, downward facing dog. Push the hips to the sky. And let's make our way to the top of the mat. We're gonna go ahead and take the right leg forward this time. Instead of jumping, sweep that right leg as far forward as we can. Take that left knee down to the floor. If we need to, knees to the floor first, and then step that foot forward, wiggle it into alignment with your right shoulder. We're going to sink those hips. We're going to take our hands on top of the front leg. Now, if we are in a high lunge, and that back foot is, the toes are curled, we're reaching that heel back. Either way, whichever we like to do, we're going to feel those glutes, those hamstrings, those quads working hard here. Let's step those hands back. And we're going to take a big breath in, big breath out. We're going to step that foot forward. Now, if the knee's still on the floor, go ahead and curl the toes. Big breath in, step your foot forward, touching the fingertips to the floor. Inhale, coming into our chair pose. And take a big breath in, coming up to standing, forward bend. And let's go ahead and step those feet back. Add your push-up. And coming into upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward this time, or again, if we're modifying, knees to the floor first, then bring that left foot forward, and then if you'd like, you can curl the toes. Curling the toes for this first time is optional. To be honest, it is always optional. Do what your body has in mind. Do what your body appreciates the best, I guess is a good way to say it. Hands on top of those legs, spine's long, reaching back through the heel. And hands come back down to the floor. Take a big breath in. Exhale. That back leg will meet the front leg. And we reach to the sky. Breathing in. And inhale, exhale, reaching up. And exhale, forward bend. Step those feet back. Or jump them back. Adding a push-up. And curling those toes. Lifting those hips. Right leg steps forward again. This time, see if you can keep that back knee lifted. If we're still modifying, knees to the floor, step the foot forward. We're going to bring the left hand inside that right foot, maybe right underneath the left shoulder. And we're going to lift the right arm. We can do this with the knee on the floor, or for added challenge, curling the toes, reaching back through the heel, and then go ahead and see if you can lift that arm for our twist. Breathing in through the nose. Go ahead and circle the arm all the way around. And you know what's coming next. Take that big breath in. Curl the toes at the knees down on the floor. Step that foot forward. Now here we can keep those feet hip distance apart, or we can start to work the feet a little bit closer. Whatever feels best for the body. Inhale, coming into our chair. Exhale, strengthening, lengthening the spine. And let's go ahead, reach for the floor, coming back up to standing. touching the hands together. Forward bend, step or jump those feet back. Adding our push-up. Coming back up into our upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. This time stepping the left leg forward. Always an option to keep the opposite knee on the floor. Right hand under the right shoulder. Twisting the left arm up and away from the floor. Trying to stack the left shoulder on top of the right. And if we like that extra challenge, that foot's curled, the knee is lifted. So we're in a high lunge. Circle the arm all the way down. Inhale and exhale. Step that right foot forward to meet the left. Inhale and exhale into that chair. Taking our time, settling into the chair pose. Trying not to lift. That's that extra challenge. Trying not to lift all the way to standing just yet. Brush those fingers against the floor. Coming up into standing. And exhale. Diving at the hips. Forward bend. Bend those knees. Step or jump those feet back. Adding our push-up. Exhaling. Inhaling. Curling toes. Downward facing dog. Right leg moves forward, and we're gonna add a little bit more to our chair. Always optional, keep that in mind. Any additional movements we do are always optional. Now we're going to make our way into high lunge. Right leg steps forward. We can always modify by keeping the knee on the floor. That's always an option. Hands come on top of that front leg. For that added challenge, hands can come to heart center, or arms can come up and over the shoulders. This is gonna put a lot of weight on those glutes and on the quads. Let's go ahead, exhale, leaning over that leg, stepping the foot forward and coming into our chair. It's a little clunky, but that's why we're working on it. Inhale and exhale, diving over those legs. Jump or step those feet back into our plank. Push up. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Left leg forward. And hands come on top of that leg. Hands come to heart center. Or arms reach up and overhead. Inhale, open, reaching over the leg. Exhale, step the foot forward. And inhale, come into chair. Exhale, sinking into the chair. Strengthening the core, strengthening those legs. Let's inhale, sweep the arms down and coming back up into our standing. And exhale, dive over those legs. Step or jump those feet back into our plank. Push up. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. And again, moving into our lunges. Stepping our right foot forward. We're going to add a little bit more. So our first option is to do the same twist we did before with the left hand under the left shoulder, reaching right arm up to the sky. Our next option will be to lift into a high lunge, hands at prayer position at our heart, and then tucking the left elbow on the outside. So twisting the spine deeply, tucking the elbow against the outside of the leg, spiraling the spine, maybe looking over the right shoulder, and coming back to the center, and stepping that foot forward. A lot of work in that right leg. Coming into our chair, and exhale, forward bend. Inhale, up to standing, sinking into chair, hands come to heart center. Let's take the right elbow to the inside of the legs, this time twisting the opposite direction. Inhale, exhale again. Try to stack the shoulders. Try not to push one knee farther forward than the other leg. Try to keep the hips and the knees level. Coming back up into standing. And exhale, forward bend. Jump or step those feet back. Forward into our push-up. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Exhale, left leg comes forward, knee to the floor. Into our high twist or a low twist where the arm stays on the floor and we lift that left arm up and away. Our next variation, hands come to heart center. We lift to high lunge and the right elbow moves to the outside of the left knee, twisting that spine deeply, looking over the left shoulder. Coming forward, inhale and exhale, stepping to the top of the mat into our low chair. And coming back down into a forward bend, making our way up into our standing pose. Hands come to heart center, sinking into our chair, twisting to the right, left elbow in between those legs. Very nice. Awesome. And let's come back up into our standing, release the spine, and forward bend. Step or jump those feet back, and adding our push-up. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, and we're going to take our right leg forward. We have just, we have just 2 more variations of our lunge before we're done. So we're getting there, we're so close. So our next variation is a high lunge. We can always do this in our low lunge, so the knee stays on the floor. We lift that torso, arms over the shoulders. And then we go ahead and make a T with the arms, twisting the spine towards the right, twisting the torso towards the right. Now we can do this in our high lunge as well. Arms over the shoulders, opening the arms into a nice deep twist. Watch the hips, watch the knees, closing that circle, stepping forward into our chair, and circling those arms down, or bringing the arms forward and down, brushing against the floor, coming up to standing, hands to heart center. Right elbow this time comes to the outside of the left knee. Again, watch that right knee. Make sure it's not pushing too far forward. Maybe scoot those toes so the feet are right next to each other. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. And if we'd like to go a little farther, we just extend those arms. Right arm reaches down to the outside of the left foot, and the left arm reaches up and overhead. Bring those hands back to heart center, and come back up into our standing pose, mountain. Exhale, forward bend, building a lot of sweat here, and hopping back, adding our push-up. Upward facing dog, or cobra if we'd like to modify. Downward facing dog, and making our way, I had a hair in my face. Making our way into our lunge again, left foot forward. Very nice. Moving into either a nice low open arm twist or high open arm twist. So arms come up and overhead, and then we open the arms out from the shoulders, twisting the torso away from the open hip towards the knee that's forward. We can do this with the toes curled as well, coming into our high lunge and opening, twisting away. Very strong, powerful movement. And closing that circle, stepping the foot forward. Bring those feet together if you can. Exhaling down, inhaling up to standing, and sinking into our chair again. One last time, taking that left elbow to the outside of the right leg. And if we'd like a little bit more, who doesn't want a little bit more? We take the left fingertips to the floor outside of the right foot. Right arm stretches up and overhead. This is really intense. So if this is too much for our shoulders or for our hips, go ahead and modify. Go ahead, bring those hands back together. Uncoil the spine, reach for the sky. Exhale, forward bend. That's the end of all of our chairs and lunges. Stepping back or jumping back. Adding our push-up. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. And let's go ahead and step the right foot forward, but this time moving into warrior and then flowing through humble warrior. So we're going to give our back a little bit of a break. Go ahead and bending our front leg, bending the front knee, spinning the back heel in and down ever so slightly, maybe about an inch. Instead of having the heel lifted, spinning in, heel comes all the way down to the floor. Arms move up and overhead. Warrior one. The knee should be over the ankle. Shoulders relaxed, spine is long. And let's go ahead and bring those hands down behind the hips, interlacing those fingers if we can. Exhale, go ahead and begin folding forward and inside the front leg. So maybe just the shoulder is right over that right leg. And exhale, and inhale, lift that torso. And one last time, folding over that front leg. And sweep those arms down, bring those feet together. Forward bend, feeling that right leg release. And coming up to standing. And let's go ahead, exhale, inhale a little bit higher, and exhale, forward bend, stepping into our plank, push up, upward facing dog, curled and toes.
Sorry.
Moving into downward facing dog, we're going to step that left foot forward this time, spinning the right heel down, and maybe hopping the foot a little bit so it's in a comfortable position. We bend the left knee and we sweep the arms up and overhead, trying not to release the bend in that front knee. Breathing in, breathing out. Go ahead and bring those hands behind the hips, interlace those fingers, and fold the torso inside that left leg, so the left shoulder maybe just touches the left leg. We're not bringing the entire torso over, so we are bending a little bit to the side. Inhale and exhale, coming back up. One more time. And humble warrior. So we're taking a bow. And coming back up. And let's sweep those feet together. Inhale, arms overhead. And exhale. Go ahead and bring those hands behind the hips. Wiggle those feet out so they're either right under the shoulders or a little bit wider. We're going to begin diving forward, lengthening through those hamstrings, opening through the hips and the glutes. And if we can, lifting the arms away from the hips, if that is comfortable for the shoulders. Bending our knees a little bit, making sure there's a little bit of a shelf for the torso to rest on. This is our resting place, just for a moment. We've done a lot of extension of the spine, and so now we're flexing the spine. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's float those hands back down to the hips, sweeping them down beside those feet, hands underneath those shoulders. Try to keep the shoulders right here. Try not to move them back, but we're gonna just inch those feet back into a plank. Making sure we're, again, on the balls of the feet, not on the tippy toes. Spine is open, heart is open, without sagging the hips to the floor. Abdominals are engaged. We're gonna move into side plank. So walk the right hand to the center of the mat and go ahead and begin lifting the left side of the body. Left hip, left shoulder, taking the left foot in front of the right foot and maybe reaching that left arm up and overhead. Inhale and exhale. Sweep that arm all the way back down into our plank. Taking the left hand to the center and beginning to lift the right side of the body. Right hip, right shoulder, right leg is in front of the left leg. Very nice. Sweeping the arm all the way back down. Let's make our way into child pose, and then we'll add wild thing, which is a really fun heart opener, but it is a little advanced, so we do want to be mindful and careful. Taking a big breath in, we want to enjoy our child pose, so I'll stop talking about the challenges ahead. Breathing in through the nose, and exhale. Releasing all of our troubles, letting go of the stress up and down the spine, stress in the mind, stress maybe we're holding on to in our bodies, in our muscles, in our skin. And moving on to all fours. I already said we're going to do wild things. So curl those toes for plank. We're going to take the right arm to the center. We're going to lift into a side plank. Moving on to the side of that right foot, we're going to step the left foot back behind the right leg, lifting the hips a little bit higher. Be mindful of what's happening in the shoulder here. And we're going to open the left arm out to the side. Wild thing, so we can reach overhead. We can reach the arm out to the side. Just be careful of the supporting arm, making sure that it's soft, that all of the joints are connected. Go ahead and stack shoulders, stack hips, bring that right leg back in, or left leg back in, I'm sorry, and stack both arms into a plank, facing the floor again. Left arm comes to the center, spinning the right shoulder, right hip away from the floor. Take that right leg, step it behind your left leg, and go ahead and open the right arm out to the side as well, or overhead. Both are great options. Just check in with your shoulder, make sure that whichever option we choose is the right one for our shoulders. We don't want any disconnecting shoulders here. We're in quarantine. We don't want to have to call 911. Let's go ahead and start stacking shoulders and hips. Take that right leg, step it in front of the left leg, and facing the floor in plank again. Knees to the floor, sitting into child pose. You guessed it. Taking a big breath in and a big breath out. Release wild thing. Accept it for what it was and let go of the results. Let go of the need for everything to be perfect. It is what it is. And now it's gone. Moving on to the next thing. Hands coming back. So they're resting alongside the feet. Check in with where the weight is on the head. We want it to be right on top of that forehead. For now, we're going to grab onto the ankles with those hands, or just let the arms hang out beside the feet. It really depends on the length of the arms, because if your arms are short like mine, it can be hard to hold onto your feet in hare pose. So on the forehead, we're going to exhale deeply, rolling onto the crown of the head, squeezing the belly in, rounding deeply into the spine. And let's go ahead and inhale. Inhale to sit back onto our heels, releasing hair. Breathing out. Breathing in and exhaling, lifting the hips, rolling onto the crown of the head, deeply rounding the spine. And inhaling and exhaling, coming back down into child pose. Breathing in and releasing. Exhaling, again, rolling up, lifting the hips. So stacking the hips over the knees and just making sure the weight is on the crown of the head and we're not crunching the neck too much here. We're rounding deeply into the spine, but we don't need to fold the neck into the chest here. Let's sit back into child pose. Let's walk those hands forward for child pose. Breathing in nice and deep. And exhaling to release. Let's move on to all fours, moving on to our hands and knees. And let's make our way up into a kneeling position. We don't do a lot of kneeling positions in my class, so I figured we could try them a little bit here in quarantine. So let's come up into, we're going to be doing camel pose. So we're in a kneeling position. The knees are hopefully right under the hips or maybe between hips and shoulders. Again, it really depends on how your body has developed. If you have wide hips or narrow hips, it's going to be a little bit different for you. So maybe wiggle those knees around into a comfortable position. They shouldn't be touching each other, though. That's the only thing. We're going to go ahead and create nice little thumbs up. You've done a great job. Take those fists, place the thumbs just below the rib cage. Fists are right at the top of the hips. I'm going to inhale to maybe gaze up and begin exhaling, lengthening the belly, maybe pressing, so we're evenly leaning back and at the same time pushing the hips forward into camel pose. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. If we do feel like we can maybe reach down, we can maybe grab onto those heels. I find sometimes it's comfortable. If it's comfortable for you, you can curl the toes here. It helps a little bit with reach. Opening those shoulders, but taking care not to pinch them back too far where it causes discomfort. And we are opening the front of the body, but we have there's two notes here. The belly's still engaged so that the lower back isn't, again, being pinched or compressed too much here. We're opening the front of the body, and we're not compressing or pinching the back side of the body too much. Let's go ahead, hands come back to the hips, and we begin making our way back up over the hips. So those hips come back over the knees and the shoulders come back over the hips. Feels nice. Let's go ahead and make our way down into a seated position. So crossing ankles and maybe flipping them forward. However, whatever method for coming into seated suits you best. Let's go ahead and bring the right leg in. And if we like, we have two options here. So that left leg can remain extended. If we like, we can maybe curl that left leg in, tucking it under the right leg. We're going to just take the left arm, wrapping it around the right leg, twisting the spine, and maybe taking that right hand behind you, maybe gazing over that right shoulder, twisting that spine. Very nice. And coming back to the center, go ahead and stack the right leg on top of that right foot. That right hip may lift off of the floor just a little bit. As long as we're not leaning onto the left leg too much, we're going to begin twisting towards the left. So our open belly twist. Inhaling and exhaling. And again, notice the difference between trying to maintain balance between those hips. So both hips don't have to necessarily stay on the floor, but again, we want to avoid kind of leaning to the left. We want to stay seated and not like leaning onto that left leg too much. Let's go ahead and come back to the center. We're going to take care lifting our right leg, moving it forward. And let's take the right leg under, left leg over this time. And we take the, right arm, wrap it around that left knee, spine is nice and tall. And we go ahead and begin twisting, maybe taking that left hand back behind us or next to the hip, maybe even gazing over that left shoulder. And breathing in, breathing out. Let's come back to the center. And maybe stacking the left leg on top of that right foot, taking care not to lean onto that right leg too much. We're going to begin twisting towards the right, twisting into an open belly, open chest twist. Breathing in through the nose. Try not to pull on the legs or the floor, so where we take our arms off and we uncoil the spine completely. So try to use the strength in the core to help us twist. Let's go ahead and release, coming back to the center, and taking care to lift the leg. We're going to bring both legs forward, reaching those legs in front of us. Inhaling, bring those arms up nice and tall, and let's exhale to begin bending at the hips, folding over those feet, breathing in, and breathing out. We're going to add a little bit of a challenge here, taking our, let's start with our right leg. We've been starting with the right leg the whole time. Let's start with the right leg. Let's continue that pattern. Taking our left hand, wrapping the left index and middle finger, so just hooking index and middle finger around the right big toes, or maybe just wrapping the left hand around all of the toes if that feels better. Because for me, my big toes can be a little sensitive, so if that doesn't feel good, we always have other options. We're going to keep that right arm right in front of the shoulder, and we're going to exhale to go ahead and lift the torso just as high as we can. Start lifting the torso, and then begin lifting that leg, bending that knee when we need to, and begin twisting the right arm into an open position. So before we were preparing for our seated position here, and again, so here's where my big toe usually says, hey, that is too much. So maybe just grab onto the toes or grab onto the inside of that foot. Spine stays long, try not to round or collapse the chest here. Chest stays open. So if we are opening that arm and we find that we start to collapse, maybe just bringing the arm in front of the shoulders so that it's facing forward, or rather out to the side instead of all the way open if this causes strain or pinching in the upper back. Let's go ahead and close the circle. So we can do two things. We can sweep the arm down or sweep it back forward and lower that leg to the floor. We're going to take the right hand, index, middle finger, hook around big toes, or just grab onto the inside of the foot or the top of the foot. And we're going to lift the arm and the leg and the torso, coming up into our seated position, bending that knee if we need to, opening the left arm out to the side, spine stays tall, and again, we keep that knee bent as much as we need to here. Inhale and exhale. And we're breathing nice and strong. Let's go ahead and slowly sweep the arm forward, heel comes back down to the floor, and we move into a forward bend, maybe nodding the chin to the chest, maybe wiggling that rib cage into a comfortable position. Wiggles definitely help us to relax and release clenching and tension, energy that kind of builds and stays. Let's make our way into a seated happy baby pose, and then we'll make our way into a full kind of blossoming boat pose. So let's come up into our seated position. We're going to bring the right knee to the chest. So we're going to start with our normal knee hug. Take your right arm to the inside of that leg, grab onto the big toes. So this is our seated happy baby pose. Now if we'd like a little bit more, we can move into a preparation for heron pose. where we're going to begin lifting that leg as high as we can. So we can grab onto the foot and the back of the leg if we'd like. Again, keeping as much bend in that knee as we need to. So from happy baby to heron, there's quite a few inches from here to here. So wherever we need to stay, that's where I want you to just breathe, lengthen the spine, let go of tension, and release. Let's go ahead, bend that knee. If we're fully extended, bend that knee back down. Let's take that foot to the floor and inhale and exhale. Begin reaching for those toes. See if we can't reach the toes without letting the knee fall all the way out to the side. Even though that feels good, we're gonna take the stretch in just a minute. Trust me. Let's come back up to our seated position and lengthen that right leg out. Left leg comes in, hands just rest behind the knee. We're just holding onto the knee here. We're gonna reach the left arm down to the toes, index and middle finger. The arm can be on the inside of the leg or on the outside of the leg, just depends on how the knee feels, how the hips feel. And we'll go ahead and see if we can lengthen the leg a little bit, maybe 1 inch, maybe 2 inches, maybe all the way up. If that's something that we can do, we can hold onto the leg. Try not to round and start rolling back, so we try to stay as tall as we can without also creating tension in the back of the body. So there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot going on here. It's okay if it's not perfect today. We're just stretching. Give yourself a pat on the back, you're stretching, that's amazing. Let's go ahead and take that foot back down. And we're going to inch those fingers forward without letting the knee fall all the way out to the side. See if we can reach for the knee, the ankle, or the toes. And again, avoid collapsing into the rib cage. Let's come back up to our seated position, sliding our left leg in with us. And we're moving into our boat pose. We're gonna do a blossoming boat pose today. So we'll lift those legs, leaning back just a couple of inches, lifting those legs so the shins are about parallel with the floor. And let's go ahead and see if we can open the legs here. So we're doing an open boat pose. Now we have a couple of options. We can reach for those toes and see if we can't balance here in bear pose. Bears are coming out of hibernation. It kind of fits in with our spring theme for today. We can also do blossoming lotus, where we take those arms underneath the legs and connect to the index and middle fingers. Now this one's a little more challenging because you have a pull from the spine and a pull from the legs. Gravity's pulling us in both directions, and so we might fall over. So it's a little challenging, but that's good. Challenging is good. So we connect the index fingers and the thumbs, and we spread the rest of the fingers, so we're blossoming lotus. Whichever feels better, we're gonna stay here for just a couple of breaths. Breathing in through the nose, that spine stays as tall as we can. If we're folding towards the legs, it'll be a little bit round, that's okay. But again, just as long as we're not collapsing into the chest and the rib cage. Breathing in, I know I already said that, but go ahead and exhale as well. And bringing our feet together, taking those knees out to the side and grabbing onto those ankles, leaning forward between those legs, breathing in and exhale. Release all of the tension in the upper body. We're making our way all the way back down to the floor. Bring those legs together. And we're going to round the spine all the way down to the floor. We're going to bring both knees, I'm grabbing my lesson plan here. We're bringing both knees to the chest, right leg, left leg, and hugging those legs so we have a nice stretch for the spine. And we've done a lot of extension. We've done a lot of work in the upper back and the lower back. So lying on the floor for a moment, letting the spine release, rounding the spine and stretching those muscles that have been tight for most of the workout is what we really need. Most days we need to be doing this. Again, this is another daily pose I recommend. Everyone should give themselves a hug every day. And on top of it, it has many, many benefits for your spine. So let's go ahead, bring those arms to the inside or the outside of the legs. Hook the index and middle fingers around the big toes for happy baby pose. Draw those knees down. Press those shoulders into the floor. Really press the entire spine down into the mat. Hips, tailbone. See how far we can lengthen the spine here. Inhale, see how low we can get those legs. And let's go ahead and bend those knees down. We're going to add a twist, feet to the floor, arms out to a T. And we're going to hop the legs, hop the hips, Hop those hips over 1 or 2 inches to the right. Scoot those feet in. Rock those legs across the body into a spine twist. Now, a lot of our twists today have been really, really active and powerful. This one is gravity only. So this is very little effort is involved here. We just let gravity pull that spine into a lengthened position. So that's why our bodies just love this one. Let's roll those hips back to the floor, knees up and away. Hop those hips to the center and then maybe 1 or 2 inches over to the left. Scoot those feet in. Rock the legs across the body. Nice little twist. A nice relaxing twist. Very little effort involved. A lot of just letting ourselves, letting gravity, letting the weight of the body open the body into a deeper stretch. And let's go ahead, exhale, draw the belly in, rock those hips back to the floor, knees up, scoot the hips to the center, hands come back down. We're going to do a straight leg stretch, bring the right knee into the chest, and reach that leg as long as it'll go. See if we can flex the toes down towards the head, heel reaches up to the sky, and maybe see if we can walk the hands up a little bit higher just to the ankles, or maybe even to the big toes. The big toe here. Our left knee can stay bent, foot can stay on the floor. We're just going to breathe maybe 2 or 3 breaths here before opening the leg out to the side, maybe opening the left arm out to the opposite side to counterbalance the weight of the legs. Breathe in through the nose, breathe out from the nose. And let's use that next exhale to bring the leg back up over the hip and bend that knee, foot is flexed. Bring your left leg a little bit closer, and if we have space for it, maybe bring the left knee towards the chest. This is another wonderful, wonderful stretch for those glutes, for the back, for the hips. A lot of things are being stretched here. And if I didn't mention anything that you feel, that is okay, as long as we're not pulling anything, as long as we're not pinching anything. If you feel that stretch in a different area and it feels good, just ignore me. I'm wrong. Let's take that foot down to the floor, uncross that leg, and bring your left knee to the chest. And let's flex that foot, reach that leg as long as we can, making our way up to the ankles, hands come to the ankles. Or, if we can, index, middle finger, hook around big toes, or grabbing onto the toes themselves. I'm going to scoot over a little bit because I'm right next to my window here. We're going to open up that right arm out to the side and let that left leg open to the left. So we get a really nice stretch through the inner thighs. And making our way back up over that hip. Exhale. And we're going to bend that knee, releasing the hand first, bending the knee, keeping the foot flexed, opening the knee out to the side, and scooting the right leg in a little bit closer, and then if we have space for it, bring the right knee towards the chest. Ooh, nice and gentle, especially if we did leg day this week already. If today was leg day, hopefully you're not hurting too much tomorrow, I apologize. We'll do some other stretches this week as well. Let's go ahead and take that right foot down to the floor. I almost forgot which foot it was. Take that right foot down to the floor, uncross your left leg. And we're going to make our way into our last exercise for today. We're going to do shoulder stand or plow, which are both really great for, they're great options for inversions, which is a good way to end your practice. So legs up over those hips, hands down beside the hips on the floor. We're going to exhale to begin rocking those hips up and away from the floor. And we're going to bring the hands to the lower back for shoulder stand. If we'd like to just maybe keep the hips on the floor, legs stay over the hips, that's a great option as well. Shoulder stand is a little more active, so if we want to move into shoulder stand, that's a great option. We rock those hips up, making sure none of the weight is right on the neck or the head. So maybe adjusting the shoulders a little bit, opening up the shoulders. And for plow pose, we're going to flex those feet and either take both feet down at the same time, or maybe just take one foot down and then the other foot down, keeping the hips maybe just a little back from the shoulders, reaching through those heels. And as soon as our body tells us no, or that the stretch becomes too much,
Go ahead and make your way out of it or release a little bit. We're going to exhale, legs come back up over those hips, into our shoulder stand, and we're going to make our way back down to the floor, releasing those hands, rolling the spine, rolling the hips down, rolling the legs down, feet come down to the floor, and we make our way into a seated pose today for meditation. So we're going to either roll over onto our side or rock and roll up to our seated position. So in our comfortable seated position, hands on those legs or hands at the heart. We're going to lengthen the spine and take a moment to notice any parts of the body that have released stress or feel open and released.
Okay.
Nodding the chin to the chest. We're going to imagine the hips and the legs pressing down into the floor. Imagining a garden underneath those legs. Imagining every breath helping us to plant good intentions. Inhale, planting the seeds that we want to keep in our lives.
Okay.
Got a friend. Exhale, releasing or plucking the weeds that no longer serve us.
Okay.
Breathing in through the nose. Breathing out through the nose, just feeling the warm support of the earth beneath us. Everything that we need is easy to obtain. Everything that we need is within our grasp. We are grounded. We are steady. We are strong. We are growing every day a little bit taller, a little more strong, a little more capable of becoming beautiful flowers or beautiful fruit-bearing plants. Again, just releasing all of the things that no longer serve us down into the soil, down into the support beneath us. Breathing in and breathing out. Allowing our plants to grow a little bit stronger. Each exhale, releasing all of that negativity, all of the stress that we hold. Sometimes that holds ourselves down with this stress, down to the ground beneath us. And we'll go ahead and give each other a bow. Thank you so much for joining me again. Thank you to Bianca for joining us for the last little meditation portion. We're all growing our flowers and we're all working through this together. Remember, wash your hands, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.